Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be showing you how to do JWT authentication using Golang with Jin framework. So first, let's see what is JWT. So JSON Web Token is a proposed internet standard for creating data with optional signature and or optional encryption, whose payload holds JSON that asserts some number of claims. The tokens are signed either using private secret or public or private key. Okay, so it's basically used to do some sort of an encryption and transfer the payload. Don't worry if you don't understand the definition as of now, but once I start coding and explaining it in detail, you'll understand it in much better way. But let's also look at an example so that you might understand it clearly. For example, a server could generate a token that has the claim logged in as an administrator and provide that to the client. The client could then use that token to prove that it's logged in as admin. So basically, there is a claim called login as administrator which server will create, and the client could use this token to prove that it's logged in as admin. So it's basically creating like a secure token for the client to log in. The token can be signed by one party's private key so that any party can subsequently verify whether the token is legitimate. So we are signing the token with private key to verify its legitimacy. If other party by some suitable or trustworthy means is in possession of corresponding public key, they too are available to verify the token legitimacy. Okay. And tokens are designed to be compact, URL safe, and usable, especially in web browse single sign-on context. Okay, basically JWT tokens allow you to securely connect to server using endpoints. So again, as I mentioned, don't worry if you didn't understand it in detail. Once I start writing the code and explaining you how it's done, and once you see the live demo of how it actually works using Postman, then you will understand it in much better and clear way. So now let's go and start writing the code. So as I mentioned, I'll be using Gen framework to sort of code this up. So first, let's create a secret key. Because as the article mentioned, we need a secret key to sign this token that we are creating. And also let's create a credential structure, which is basically consisting of username and password. So the client will log in using username and password to the server. So once the client sends username and password, the server will give you a certain JWT token. So that's why we need a structure called credential which holds username and password. And after that, this is fine. And what are all the endpoints we will have? So basically, to explain you how this JWT token and authentication works, I'll be designing a simple food delivery application. For example, imagine something like DoorDash, or if you are in India, imagine something like Swiggy. So we'll be doing just two things: view the menu in the app and place an order. And also obviously we will need to log into the app. So we'll be doing login and view the menu and also place an order. So these are the endpoints: login, view the menu, and order. Okay, so as I mentioned, we'll be using Jin framework. So Jin.default and login, menu, and order. And also, as I mentioned, the order should be secure. So only someone who has logged in should be able to order. But menu can be private. Anybody should be able to view the menu, but only person who has logged into the app should be able to place the order. So I hope you understood the concept that we are trying to achieve. Now let's make this order URL secure so that only people who have logged in will be able to access it. So to do that, we'll create a protected group. And once creating a protected group, we will do protected.use auth middleware. This function we are yet to write, and I'll explain it to you what this means while I am writing it. And then protected.post. Okay, I think the group should be for order, and then protected.post, anything that starts with /order has to be protected. And we are making it a post. The request will be post because we are basically placing an order. And this also I hope you understand. Menu will be get request because we are getting a JSON of menu, and login will again be post because we'll be sending in username and password. So this will be our basic prototype for the APIs. So we will have three APIs as I mentioned: login API, menu API, and order API. And we are protecting the order API so that only people who have logged in will be able to place an order. So yeah, that is it. And now let's write the login. So yeah, first let's complete the code and then let me explain what is happening. Okay, claims. Yeah, menu will write later. Yeah, login. So as I mentioned, every function, every handler for an endpoint will take gen.context as input, and gen.context has all the helper methods like should bind JSON and similar methods which are readily available for you to use. If you want to know how to use Gin framework in detail, you can check out one of my other videos which I have already uploaded in the channel. But in this video, I'll be focusing more on JWT authentication. But let's understand what we are doing in this login. So first step, create a credential structure. So that we have already have here. So we initialize one variables called creds, which is a structure of credential, and then pass it to should bind JSON. So what happens here? As I mentioned, when you're doing the when you're calling the login endpoints, you will be passing in username and password. So this should bind JSON, when you pass this reference to this structure, will go and extract username and password that you pass to the endpoint, and it will store it in this structure. So this structure will have username and password now, whatever you have written. And currently, like, I'm hard coding what the username and password should be, but in an ideal production ready server that you are writing, you need to fetch all this from the database. I'm currently not using database because that's not in the scope of the video. We are basically trying to understand authentication. But yeah, we are basically trying to authenticate whether the username and password is correct. In this case, I have hard coded username has to be admin and password has to be password in this case. If that's not the case, you return an error that the credentials are invalid. And then if you recall, in the Wikipedia definition, a token is made up of claims. So basically, we need to create a claim to generate a token, and this is an and for a token there will be an expiry time. So basically, you need to basically call that order endpoint before the expiry of the token. So this token expires in 5 minutes, and then we create a claim. Claim basically consists of username, and this is registered claim. This is one of the this basically consists of different fields for required for the JWT authentication. I won't be going in detail of what it contains, but just know that the claim here consists of username and registered claim. So this is part of JWT library. registered claim, and then this will expire at expiration time which we have given. Now, as I mentioned, you need to create a token using this claim. So pass these claims, and you can also mention the way you need to sign this token. Here they're using like HS256 algorithm to sign this token. And as you know, we created a JWT key in the beginning. Yeah, and if you see the Wikipedia definition, they're told that you need to sign this token using a key. So that key we are using to sign this token. And then if there is any error while you are signing, then display the error. If not, HTTP status okay, and pass the token as the response. So basically user will do /login, and you will be passing in the token as the output to the user. So that's it for login. Now let's write the menu. Okay. Order will write later. Now let's understand what's happening here. This is a pretty simple endpoint. As I mentioned, when you do /menu, you need to output menu in JSON format. So again, it takes gen.context as input, and c.json, we are basically outputting a list of structure, and each structure is basically menu, which is menu item, which is basically ID of that item, name of the item, burger in this case, and price of that item. Like that, 4 different items we will be outputting. This is like a basic endpoint for menu. And now comes placing the order itself. So order endpoint. So for this, we need to first check if username exists. So yeah, we did that. And then order structure, this is correct, and order placed. Okay, so let's explain what is happening here. So when you do order, when you call the order endpoint, which is here, when you do the order endpoint, as you know, we have protected it using we are using auth middleware. Like basically, I'll explain the auth middleware later on, but this is protected. So basically, you should have logged in, and you should have already had the token to use this endpoint. So basically, we will check if the username exists. So this we will get to know because when you're creating the token, in the claims you see you pass the username. So when you pass the token in the order, when calling the order endpoint, you already have set the username. So check if that username exists. If the username doesn't exist in the endpoint, then you return an error, and then you create an structure called order, which consists of ID and quantity. This structure is new, we are creating it right now. This is required because for the order API endpoint, we'll take a JSON which consists of ID and quantity. Because how do we order? We need to know what item we are ordering and how much of that we are ordering. So these two we will fetch. Should bind JSON, that's what we are passing this structure into bind JSON and extracting ID and quantity from the endpoint. And if there is any error, you return it. If not, HTTP okay, order has been placed. Okay. Now, if you have done this much, the only thing remaining is writing the middleware, which is the core of this video. How to write the middleware. So let's write the middleware. Okay. Set claims next. Yeah, that's it. So basically the auth middleware function returns a handler, because see where we are calling the auth middleware protected.use. This protected.use takes handler as input. So auth middleware function should return a handler. So it will return gin.handler. So we are returning a function. So I hope you that is clear. We are returning a function. So basically auth middleware is also a function and it's returning a function as output. And this function will again take gin.context as input. And we take the we read the authorization. So basically every JSON will have like a body which consists of a JSON or raw JSON input, and also it consists of a header field called authorization, which will consist of the token that you got when you logged in. So we'll extract the token that you got when you logged in, and if the token doesn't exist, you return an error. Okay, you return an error. And then the token consists of claims, you know that. Well, because when creating the token, I told you that we created a claim structure and we passed it. That's how we created the token. So we'll extract that. Here we took the token string and you extract the claims part of it by using JWT parse with claims. And then finally, once you have the token, check if it is valid, and if it is not valid, tell it's not authorized. When can it be not authorized? It can be not authorized like if the token has expired. If you remember, we passed expiry date for the token. So, or if it is not, if you pass in wrong token string or something. So basically, and don't get confused here, the token we are extracting here and token string are different things. As you saw that once we create the token, we sign it using some private key. So this token string is the final token which has been signed and everything, and this token and string we extract from this token string. And then yeah, again, if the token is not valid, you tell it's not authorized, you're not authorized, and c.abort, and then return. If not, you set the username, extracting it from username, and c.next. And again, one more important thing, how does this middleware work? So basically, when a client, let's assume you have a server here and client makes a request, client is here. So the middleware will be between client and server. So whenever a client makes a request, it first goes to the middleware, and you assume that client has already done the login part. Okay, login is different. This it will hit the middleware when you're doing the order part. So login is already done. So client does slash order. It first hits the middleware. So middleware will check the authorization whether you have the correct token and everything. And if that is correct, it will set username. It will set username, and you need to do c.next. Why should you do c.next? Because only if you do c.next, that request which came from client to middleware will be passed to the server. If you don't do c.next, it will just the client request will hit the middleware and it will just be done, like it won't go further. If you do c.next, it will go further. That's why if you see here, if the token is not valid, will abort. So the client request will hit the middleware and it will like just abort because the token was incorrect. But if the token is correct, the client request will hit the middleware, c.next hits the server. So that's the flow of it. Yeah, and that's it, the code for it. Now we just have to import couple of stuff and then I will show you how it works. Yeah, so what are all the imports required? Did I not have the claims? That is weird. Oh, probably I did not return claims. Okay, sorry. You also need a claims structure with username and registered claims. I think I forgot to write that. But what are all the imports needed? Gin, because we're using Gin framework, and this Golang JWT, because that is used to sort of give the library for writing the middleware and everything. Okay, now let's see if this compiles. Seems to work. We have our endpoints, login, menu, and order. Okay. Now let's go to Postman and let's check this out. First, I will show you menu. Menu doesn't need any login. It's a free URL. You can just call menu. So these are all the items: burger, pizza, salad, soda. So let's say we'll order burger. Okay, that is ID number 1, remember. Now before that you need to log in. So login is a post request. Post, and then as I mentioned, you need to pass username. Username has to be admin. We have hard coded it. You need to pass a password, which is password. Okay, post request. We got the token. Copy this token. Now we will order, which is again a post request. For ordering, you need to pass the header. Here in header authorization, you need to pass the token. I erase the previous token, paste the new token. Okay. Now go to the body. ID of the item. I think it is 1 for pizza, and then quantity. Okay, 5 pizzas we will order. Hopefully this works. Yeah, order placed for admin. So we were able to place the order. So yeah, that's it. This is just a small tutorial explaining you how JWT token authorization works, and I think I did my best to explain you the concept of JWT authentication and how the code has to be for it. And yeah, and this videos, which is highly concept intensive, takes a lot of time and effort. So if you like the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Yeah, sorry guys, while recording, I think the OBS messed up while I was recording the slash order endpoints. So basically here I set the header, which was the token in authorization, and in the body I ordered pizza, which was ID 1 and 5 pizzas. And then when I sent this request, I got order placed for admin. So yeah, I hope you like the video. Thank you.